interrupting the session at all. So please don't put the chat box in the chat box as the session is going on. By 10:20, the session will wind up, and 10:20, you can put the questions in the chat box and the speaker will answer your question. I hope this will be fine for all of you. Today, so let us start with new beginning. On behalf of the management and IQAC of Christo Jayanti College, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you towards promoting and sustaining excellence in school education. The educational philosophy of Christo Jayanti College deals in the individual academic excellence with holistic development and nurtures a deep concern for the society. This pedagogy focuses on molding individuals into integrated personalities who are not only intellectually competent but also socially sensitive. Christo Jayanti College is the only educational member institution of the United Nations Academic Impact UNAI that has been chosen from India as the SDG hub for Sustainable Development Goal 1, No Poverty. We are extremely privileged to have Dr. Sally Elizabeth Birdsall as a resource person for today's session on Sustainable Development Goals in School Education. Dr. Sally Birdsall is a lecturer in the School of Curriculum and Pedagogy at the Faculty of Education, University of Auckland, New Zealand. Sally Birdsall began her teaching career working in primary and intermediate schools. After 12 years in classrooms, she won a position at a teachers' college teaching undergraduate student teachers. Now we have the next session by Dr. Jonas Richards. And participants, you are a wonderful audience listening keenly to Dr. Sally, and you adhered to every instruction, and only in the end everybody had put up their questions in the chat session. I think we will follow the same protocol. It actually works out very fine. Everybody can listen carefully to the session. So now we move on to the next session by Dr. Jonas Richard. The session of today is promoting positive student mental health in schools. Dr. Jonas Richards has 20 plus years of experience in academia and industry with unique combination of expertise in the area of life skills training, social work education, and psychosocial support. A trainer by passion and an academician by profession, Dr. Jonas facilitates regular sessions in the area of life skills education, capacity building workshops, and employee engagement activities. He has trained more than 500 plus groups of participants on various dimensions of psychosocial well-being and stress management. His training sessions are highly participative and impactful. His PhD work on life skills using quasi-experimental design with pre-post analysis was widely appreciated. As a mental health educator, Dr. Jonas trains parents and teachers on basic parenting skills, family life enrichment programs, positive student mental health, positive discipline techniques, psychosocial understanding, and Gen Y learners handling social media addiction and providing psychological first aid. Dr. Jonas has published many research articles, authored books, and written chapters in books. Currently, Dr. Jonas Richard is the head of the Department of Social Work and the director of the Center for Life Skills Education and Center for Continuous Professional Development in Christo Jayanti College. Sir, very warm welcome, and over to you for the next session.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible.
Okay. 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 Is my screen seen, madam? I have shared the screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, dear friends, thank you once again for your sustained interest. Yesterday, we just started with the introduction and went on to move on to the different aspects of school education, especially on leadership. This morning, we talked about Dr. Sally from Auckland, New Zealand, on how SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, can be effectively incorporated in school education. Now, this session, we would talk a little lighter session, but then very important session as principals. How do we make our students mentally healthy? And what is the role of principals in making children who are mentally healthy? What is the role that schools can play? What is our limitation? How far we can contribute? Is everything under control, or do we also have our limitations? How far the teachers can be effectively deployed in making a school mental health program a reality? So with this background, I congratulate all of you for being here today, because roughly about 1.5 million schools are there in India. 1.5, roughly 15 lakhs. Out of that, I do not know how many participants. We have got about close to 400. I don't know what percentage it works out to. Less than 1%. Some maths teachers can put it there in the chat. So less than 1% of you who have taken a time and interest to know about the different aspects of school educational leadership, so that our institutions become better institutions. With this few words, I would get inside my presentation. Before I start, there are two things. Friends, the presentations that we share is the collective and cumulative responsibility and the expertise of our research team in Christu Jayanti College. We have a team of faculty members who travel across India to train different school teachers and students on various dimensions of psychosocial well-being. So the matter that we share is the cumulative expertise and the experience with all the schools, hundreds of schools and thousands of students, and with their experience. And you're free to disagree, and because true mental health is agreeing to disagree. Okay, so we are not forcing our opinions, anything that you feel, because we value also your experience and expertise. With this, we get into this. As all of us know, this is the discussion track that we would be having it. We would talk about what is mental health, what ill health, and what is mental health, and why mental health is very important at school. We will also see how far or what is the limitation schools can play as far as mental health is concerned. And we will move on to what are the current concerns and challenges. As all of us know, working with today's children is quite challenged, because today's children live in the best time of the history. Today's children live in the best time of the history. They also have equal amount of challenges, whether it is psychological or social or academic, emotional, they go through. And we would end with some specific strategies that we can incorporate in our school education system that can promote positive mental health. Now, there are some basic statistics we need to keep in mind before we understand today's children. All of us know India is the second most populous country in the world, with roughly about 1.236 billion population. Okay, so with this population, and we know we are the second largest, and with this, every fifth person is a child or adolescent. Every fifth person. And between 10 to 19 years, and every third person is aged between 10 to 24 years. And this is the latest statistics. And roughly about 434 million children and adolescents in India are there, and which means we are the highest child population in the globe. At given point of time, we have roughly about 50 million Indian children who suffer from minor major mental disorders. So friends, it is a statistics and quite serious one. Why I am sharing is that we need to understand with this background what with our limited capacity, what we can do in our own schools. With the statistics, we also need to understand some basic realities, okay, and what we can do. The emotional, social, and psychological development of children has a direct impact on the overall academic performance of children. I'm sure as principals with a long experience, you all agree with me. It is not just the academic input, but the emotional, social, and psychological development that makes the child a fully grown or a matured adult. Now, who is responsible for this? Only the parents, or only the schools, or only the society? Yes, we need to discuss. And we also know by experience, children who receive maximum love and affection experience a very strong sense of security, and they suffer from low self-esteem. All of us know, all of us have some sense of low self-esteem, less or more, and most of the time it starts at the school, especially at the late childhood. Between the age of 8 to 12, most of our self-esteem issues start. Unfortunately, many a times this is not taken care at the school level. And we also know many a times the school classroom itself become the source of some sort of low self-esteem. Let us go back and think of our own life. One low self-esteem experience that we all had would have probably started in that age. And we also know children who face neglect and emotional abuse turn out to be the antisocial elements. We have a lot of issues and cases. Anybody who becomes later on turns out to become an antisocial element, their root cause would be when they were children. Psychologists say it can even be the prenatal period. There is a case about Hitler. Hitler's mother tried to commit suicide 3 times when he was in the womb. You can imagine the effects of parenting, even at the prenatal level, how it affects the psychosocial makeup of an individual. We'll move on. Now, this is the background how children develop positive or negative mental makeup. Now, what happens to the school when it comes? We know a happy teacher creates a happy, a mentally healthy and stable child. But whereas an unhappy teacher creates unhappy, a frustrated child, and which turns out it affects the other aspects of their psychosocial well-being. So therefore, dear friends, teachers play a very, very, very crucial role in developing the positive mindset of the learners. As principals, we may not be in touch with the students directly on a day-to-day basis. But whereas every teacher is expected to be like a bridge between the child and the principal, or the child and the parents. But unfortunately, what we see in some cases is people, instead of becoming a bridges, they become walls. When teacher becomes a wall instead of a bridge, the child's psychosocial, emotional well-being gets completely hampered. Having said that, we know schools have a vital and crucial role to play in the promotion of child's mental health. Schools, we just cannot do away the responsibility of providing the holistic development for the child. We cannot be only worried about only the academic performance of the children. So a holistic development also includes emotional and psychological well-being of the child. As we know, in 21st century, the roles are getting changed. Yesterday, Dr. Edward talked about the changing paradigm in education, how the entire concept of education moving from a government owned to a big private business is becoming changed. Whether we like it or not, there are big players there. As our missionary schools, as our traditional schools, we would have taken 20 years, 30 years to put up infrastructure. Today, the corporate houses are able to put a big infrastructure within 2 years, 3 years. Earlier, our schools used to be known for two things: teaching English and imparting value system. Let's stop here and ask, are we still holding on those two USPs in our schools? It's a point to reflect. Moving on to the role of a teachers role, how it is changing over the years. Earlier, teacher was like a sage on the stage, most of us. But today, teacher is only a guide. Teacher is expected to be a partner in the learning process. And earlier, teacher was gospel truth today. But today, student has got much more reference points, something called Google or any online resources. In a very jokingly, on a lighter note, we say, earlier we used to have a Mata Pita Guru Devam. But today, we have Mata Pita Google Devam. So Google has become one of the major components. That's why one-liner I read somewhere, it said, respect your parents. They passed 8th standard even before Google came, which means they are more intelligent. Today, so with all these technologies, teachers' role also have to change. Earlier, we enjoyed the respect for the position as a teacher. Just because somebody is a teacher, just because somebody is a principal, we enjoy a positive social image. But today, among the teachers, people are classifying good teacher, bad teacher, good principal, bad principal. So it goes by person-centered earned respect. Every day we need to earn our respect today. That is the real current situation. Earlier we could boss over. Today, with a lot of private schools, we become a paymasters. Whether students say it openly or not, students know it. Your salary is paid by my fees. And that is the attitude that develops in many of the parents also on children. Now, what happens when teacher does not create a positive relationship? This attitude emerges and we move on to a customer is the king. So whatever customer wants, you give. Customer centric. Whether students can be considered as a customer, that's a big question mark, and it is a debatable. And earlier, as teachers, we were role model. Today, we have to find a role. So, dear friends, this is the crucial. This is another interesting picture that I found recently. How the exam patterns have changed over the years. Very jokingly, they have put, see, in 1995, exam, answer all the questions. In 2000, when you come, answer only 5 questions. 2005, select the correct answer, A, B, or C. And when we move on to the 2010, we have only write either A or B. And 2015, please read only questions. Now, 2020, thanks for coming in. Now, with this COVID-19 and other issues, I don't know. Thanks for logging in, because with all the online classes, when students log in, do we really make sure that people are really learning? So therefore, dear friends, a lot of things are changing. We teachers also should change. And most of the times, what happens, based on my little experience with the traveling with across the other schools and colleges, many a time teachers think, okay, 3-year preparation, 30-year reputation over my job. So unless we renew ourselves, unless as principals, we make our teachers, they say the best way to become a very good teacher is burn the last year's notes. Every year when the academic year ends, if the teacher is burning out the notes, they say the teacher will become an effective teacher. So that, which means the teacher is expected to prepare more and update more. Now, having said that, let us look at some of the basic and essential imperatives for positive mental health, which means if we want a positive mental health in our schools, these are the basics that we need to keep in mind. Number one, promoting positive mental health is crucial to child's overall personality development. Mushrooming schools, coaching centers, many a times we see they ignore all the other aspects except mark, mark, mark. Many a times children are seen as mark producing ATMs. I have seen parents openly saying, do whatever you want. I'm not worried about your other aspects of your life. Get me so much mark. It's very sad. When we excessively focus only on mark, what happens once the child gets only mark, doesn't develop. We have 101 example of what happens. All of us know the case of last year in Karnataka. We had this cafe coffee day. The founder, I think his name was Sridhar or something. Okay, this person, everybody thought he is successful, but he did not feel he is successful. He was academically brilliant, entrepreneurial wise, very intelligent, socially respected. Everything was happening, but he could not face the problems or the realities of life. But somewhere today, we see in our schools, children become very intelligent, no doubt about it. They get very good marks. What we have studied in 10th standard, today's children study in 5th standard. All that is okay. But what happens when problem comes? Frustration tolerance, ability to face situations, how long they are able to face the problem. Small problem, they are not able to face it. They easily give up. Or they immediately get into online and go for online frustration, online ventilation. All of us know in the recent case what's happening in our capital city, Delhi. What is that called? Boys locker room. Boys locker room case. And where, school children talking about, the violence and without any guilt feeling. So this is something dangerous. So as responsible educational leaders, we have a serious role to play. So working on about themselves and how they look at the world is decides child's mental health. Two things happen when we talk about child's mental health. How the child looks at himself or herself, how he looks at or she looks at the entire world. So two, one is satisfying oneself, satisfying the society. This internal equilibrium, this social balance is what is required if we want to promote positive social mental health. And not exposing children to violence is the primary responsibility of the caregivers. Now, who are the primary caregivers? Parents and teachers. That is why we say parents are the first parents are the first teachers, and teachers are the second parents. So these triangle relationship of parent, teacher, student, they need to have a constant communication and makes sure children are not exposed to violence, because only when this happens, children develop to be a positive child. And another aspect is unrealistic expectation. Many a times, there is a popular case, a child which was brought to us for counseling. The parents came, 9th standard child studying in a state board. The parents are saying, sir, my son doesn't open the book at home. This fellow is getting 98% mark overall without studying. If he studies, he will get 100, but he doesn't study. Please make him study. As mental health experts, we understood the situation. The problem is not with the child. Problem is the over expectation of the parents. We had to counsel the parents and say, the child has a unique learning style, which he studies only at the school. He does not have to come and open the books at home. His methodology of learning is only auditory learning. All of us know auditory kinesthetic, the video, VAK model. Now, this child was good at auditory at the school. So he was successful, whereas parents did not understand. Dear principals, Dear teachers, putting pressure is not a problem. On whom we are putting a pressure is to be really decided. Even in our own institutions, sometimes teachers come with a complaint to the principal. This boy doesn't open the books, father. He's very good in study, but he does not put work. He's very talented, but does not work hard. As I say, some names may be popping up in your mind about your own students. Please have realistic expectations. There are some authors who say unrealistic expectations is also an emotional abuse. Okay, I do not know whether you agree with this. I'm just leaving it to your thought process. Okay, and all of us know children will respond well with the routines and rituals. So one sure way of making mental health possible for children is creating a routine life. Okay, today with the lockdown, talking to parents and observing my own children, people have gone to a new normal. New normal, when I say their sleeping time has, I do not know how many people have got up in many homes now. It's already 10:30, 11. They go to late night bed, they eat time in whenever they want. So the routine life is disturbed. So as principals, if we want to promote positive mental health in our schools, let us stick on to the rituals. Rituals, when I say daily practices and the routines. And the World Health Organization very clearly says, when we say health, it includes mental health. Kindly look at this triangle. I am moving my cursor. We have a mental, physical, and social health. When I say somebody is healthy, we mean the person is mentally, socially, and emotionally healthy. If we are focusing only on social health or physical health and mental health is not taken care, the person is not really healthy. Now, just look at these two recent news. I'm sure all of you are aware of what is happening in our. This is only one example, the latest that I could find yesterday night in the website. There may be so many, and you can have a local examples of what happens when children become the initiators of violence. Okay, this is a very what do you call infamous case that we are all discussing about in the capital city. A group of students openly discussing about all sorts of sexual crime and without even feeling guilty about it. So which means increased violence, online crimes, online bullying, cyber bullying, and above all, suicidal tendencies. I'm not going to get into the statistics of suicidal tendencies because today, as we become technologically advanced, we also have number of people attempting cases of suicide. Interestingly, I also would like to share statistics. Whenever there is a pandemic, they say the suicide attempted rates are less. I do not know what is the reason. You can think about it, the psychosocial reasons. Whenever there is a disaster, people attempting for suicide is less. Probably these days, one of the plus points of a lockdown would be people may not be trying out the attempted case of suicide may be less. And the depression, anxiety, and above all, emotional vulnerability, children giving up so easily. So just to tell you how the emotional issues become, it is increasing day by day, Problems that we did not see it as a problem when we grew up has become a major issue for today's children. Now, why it happens specifically with today's children? We need to understand three important factors. Number one, the personal changes that happen with today's children. For example, biological changes. Today's children grow up fast, especially reaching the age of maturity. They put on weight fast because of the excessive foods and becoming, what do you call it, stouter, taller. Physically they grow up fast because with so much of packed food, it's like a floated balloon. The moment you stop the food, they become the normal one. Okay, excessive biological changes, and above all, they go through ID crisis. What we call it, IC. Who am I? That is why today's children get into hero worship. And most of the online games you see, if your children are playing, 90% of the online game is related to shooting and killing. Okay, so indirectly, one message is very clearly given to the children. If you want to live, you have to kill somebody. There is no win-win model. It is only a win-lose model. You see how slowly these type of messages are put into their subconscious mind. This is about their personal. Now, what happens when we come to the academics? Expectation from the parents. Over expectation. I will just show you one slide. Look at this slide, friends. It looks very funny. In one tree, you have mangoes, you have apples, you have bananas. Many a times when parents bring their children to us for counseling, this is what they say. Same boy has to become a doctor, engineer, lawyer. How is it possible? Whatever the parent could not fulfill in his life when he was growing up, those dreams are pushed on the children. And as a result, children do not really enjoy their life. I know in many schools where they attach with the tuition centers from morning till evening, that coaching, this coaching, NEET coaching. That is why somebody had beautifully written, children move from tuition center to tuition center. As a result, they bypass their childhood. Very beautifully it is written. They bypass their childhood. Suddenly they realize they have grown up without enjoying their childhood. So this makes them to live a very, very immature life and a life which is not socially sanctioned. This is about the parents. Now, what happens to the schools? I'm sure as responsible principals, you will agree with me. Some schools, what do they do? In the 9th standard, they filter. Okay, they put only few students in 10th standard so that they do not want to have that affect their results. Okay, now what happens to these children? They are put under severe pressure, excessive pressure. We went to one school in the month of February, me and our team, Dr. Nelson and others. I asked one 8th standard, 9th standard boy in the month of March, come on man, why are you not smiling? This boy said, sorry, out of syllabus. So much pressure, academically oriented. So the child really does not enjoy the child. And excessive to learn, big books. Now we have a personal pressure for the child, academic pressure for the child. What happens to the social and peer pressure? All of you know. Okay, when everybody is doing, why don't you do it? The children are forced, okay, what we call it a mass bunking or a mass copying or I don't know, all sorts of antisocial work that can happen within the school environment if the teachers do not monitor the students properly. So, and media influence, how media projects school children today. It projects in a very, very wrong way. If you don't put on weight, you are not healthy. Only when you look thin, you are healthy. So all these amounts to a big challenge, not only for children, but also for parents and above all, school authorities. As principals, all of you will agree with me. Our school may be enjoying a very good reputation in our own locality for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. One fine morning, one disciplinary action is taken against the child. If a teacher slaps a child, you don't have to do anything. Tomorrow morning, you can see your school in the TV in a negative way. The night, the whole country will debate how teachers are crucial or cruel. So therefore, dear friends, as children grow, they also go through challenge, and these challenges also become burden not only for children themselves, but also for the parents. And now you look at this slide, friends. This is a very beautiful slide which talks about 3 basic influences as far as mental health is concerned. Okay, a child can have. A child is influenced on three basic. One is the family. Family has a big influence on the child. Okay, if the family is quarreling, indifferent, lot of comparison. Imagine if there are two children, if the parents excessively compare with the child develops low self-esteem, a sense of insecurity, and develops a critical, and the child becomes negative. Okay, and when the child is overprotected, again it is a challenge. And when there is no difference between punishment and discipline, when parents do not understand, there is a difference between punishment and discipline. Okay, when the parent does not understand, it affects the child. And when it comes to the school, this is very important for us. Please pay attention to this particular aspect. Teachers' attitude play a crucial role in the positive mental health of the child, dear friends. That is why we always urge the school educational leaders, you take care of teachers, teachers will take care of the students. This is one successful model that is being practiced in Christu Jayanti College. You take care of teachers, teacher will take care of the students. So therefore, teachers' mental health is very important for a school's success, school's branding, and above all, students' positive and emotional well-being. And the type of teaching methods, the amount of homework, okay, and again the punishment, the strict discipline, comparison, partiality. Dear friends, this is very important. As a leaders, my request to you, whenever there is any complaint from parents about the partiality, kindly take it seriously. Let us not protect our teachers, because this can hamper the child's best mental health. The child will grow up as a negative, unwanted, and these are the children, when they grow up, they look for attention in a negative way. Friends, everybody looks for attention. When it is not given in a positive way, they will take it out in a negative way. And our schools should not be a place for helping people to develop this negative mindset about oneself. Of course, the third aspect is the neighborhood, the public, their friendship circle, the truancy, the gang activity, smoking, drinking, and all sorts of unwanted issues that can come. But I would request you to focus more on within our limitation, within our current context, within our given setup, within our own campus, how best we can promote positively the mental health. Our mentor, Father Joskuti, always used to say, schools should be the best place for children to like to come. Teachers should be the best people where children would like to come and interact. And unless we create that environment of ownership, wanting, welcoming, we may not be able to achieve the bigger goal of positive mental health in our children. And another aspect that we see in today's children, the major reason for poor mental health is the peer pressure. Any bad habit that starts with the peer pressure. Every child is good. Every child is good. No child is bad. All of us know when you admit the child is good, what happens over the years? Either because the teacher is not able to monitor, or the parents, both parents work, where making money becomes their priority than to spend time with the children, and they get into the negative influence. And these negative influences start with the peer pressure and excessive stress. Stress. Today's children go through a lot of stress compared to our own life, whether it is academic, whether it is a social, or whether it is with their own personality. Today's children go through a lot of personality issues. The intention to look good, better, want to keep up their shape. Okay, so all these hampers. Okay, now what happens? The other issues, exam pressures, excessive social media. In fact, we have a clear training setup in Christu Jayanti College where we train teachers on how to handle social media addiction. It's a big issue. And today, I do not know what's happening with our own children with all this lockdown. And interestingly, there was one WhatsApp forward which I read. A child is putting up a meme. The schools said, keep the mobile away. But today, the same schools are saying, take your mobile, we want to conduct online classes. Okay. It's a very joke, but what happens? Limited So how do I intake the information depends on my mental wealth. How do I output the information? How do I respond to the changing situations around me, unrealistic expectations around me? When a situational demand comes, unnecessary stressor comes, how do I respond depends on my emotional health. And when we say emotional health, we mean expressing emotion in a positive and in a socially sanctioned way. We need to underline the word socially sanctioned way, dear friends, because emotions are common to everybody. Emotions are common to everybody. All of us experience emotion. But how do we express the emotion? How we express the emotion decides how emotionally intelligent I am, how emotionally healthy I am. The best way to express emotion is in a way that is approved by the society. Society does not approve all sorts of expression. There is a certain way only we can express our emotion, and that if the child is given, we can say the child is an emotionally healthy child. And we also have something called emotional regulators. Emotional regulation means ability to recognize, express, and modulate one's own emotion, and it is a very important aspect of mental health. And finally, we talk about two types of emotions. Generally, there are two types of emotions. As educational leaders, we need to be aware of it. One is a primary emotion, another one is secondary emotion. Primary emotion means there are four emotions are called primary emotions. They are called fear, anger, sadness, and happiness. All human beings experience these four emotions. We call it a FASH: fear, anger, sadness, and happiness. Even a newborn child experiences these four emotions. Now, secondary emotions are we experience based on how we interpret the primary emotions. For example, suffering, disappointment, shame, guilt, feeling loneliness. All these are called secondary emotions, because whatever that happens to me is a primary emotion. How I process that information and start feeling it, that becomes a secondary emotion. In my opinion, if we are able to take care primary emotions properly within our own school environment, because we have limitations within four walls, we cannot work miracles. Children are with us only to 6 hours or 5 hours, and parents have got a role to play, media has got a role to play. We cannot accept full responsibility, but we have to do our best so that children experience lots and lots of positive emotions. Now, what happens or what decides a child's mental and emotional health in our own school environment? The first one, classroom management. Dear friends, classroom management has got a proportionate importance or proportionate growth related to the overall academic performance of the learners as well as the school ranking. When we want the best results, we are focusing on the classrooms. When we want the best children, we need to focus on the classroom, the emotional climate in the classroom, how the child is experiencing emotion within the four walls. Generally, we talk about two types of climate. One is a healthy emotional climate, another one is an unhealthy emotional climate. Now, what happens in an emotional, positive, healthy climate? The child is relaxed, very cooperative, happy, and motivated, and child wants to learn. Now, with this crowd, we can have less rules and regulations because the child is voluntarily and happily and motivated to learn. Now, what happens when there is an unhealthy climate, unhealthy emotional climate, which is largely and predominantly decided by the teacher's emotion? The child is tensed. How many times we have heard the cases of when the teacher is happy, student is also happy. All of us as principals, as teachers, we all know when we grew up as a children, we all liked the subject, and those subjects where we also liked the teachers. If we like the teacher, we also like the subjects. That's how we all grew up. So it also same with today's children. How can teachers make themselves likable to the children? Of course, in a positive way. But today there are a lot of unhealthy way of making a children like you. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about positive and right and ethically motivated way how we can make the child like us. When there is unhealthy climate, children become nervous, irritable, hypercritical, disinterested in subjects, and they are the troublemakers. I request you to think in all your classrooms, there may be 10% or one boy or one girl who is a real trouble for the teacher. You go back and look at that child. Probably the child was very good in the beginning. Over the years, when the child experienced unhealthy emotional climate, either in the classroom or at home, the child becomes the negative. That is the first one. Second one, what happens or what decides the child's emotional climate? It is the teacher's personality. Dear friends, If you notice again and again, I'm talking about the teacher's personality and teacher's psychosocial makeup, teacher's emotional stability, teacher's mental stamina, all that decides. Because teachers really, how many times children's language changes because they want to imitate the teacher? You know, the language, the slang, the way they walk. Sometimes small children do that. Sometimes even if the parents say this is right, child will say no, 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 my miss told this is only is right. So that is the influence a teacher has on the child. So therefore, dear educational leaders, teachers' personality is very crucial in deciding the child's positive mental health. That is teacher's attitude. Teacher's attitude towards learning, teacher's attitude towards him coming up in life, teacher's attitude towards working at home. If the teacher herself or himself comes to the class as a burden, how do you think the child to stay motivated? If the child teacher himself or herself is experiencing a sense of low self-esteem, unwantedness, uncared for, neglected, definitely it will pass on to the children. So therefore, teachers' emotional involvement is very, very important. The third aspect which decides a child's mental health in our school is the type of discipline we use. Generally, we talk about 4 types of discipline. One is what we call it authoritarian. That is one-way discipline. Just do what I say, authoritarian. Okay? Or we have the other one is second one, democratic, authoritative, where two-way communication is given. Rules are explained. Whereas in authoritarian, no rules are explained. I am a teacher, you are a student. I am a hero, you are a zero. Just listen to what I am saying. In such situation, children may not talk to us openly. They go to the online, they start doing all type of cyberbullying, or they express their emotions among their friendship circle in an inappropriate way. It not only damages the school's branding and also the child's psychosocial makeup. So therefore, the type of discipline is very important. I will talk about it little later and explain which type of discipline we need to use it. Okay. And third one is what we call it a permissive discipline or a no discipline. A teacher, imagine in a classroom, no rules. If you want to come, you come. If you want to go, you go. If you want to sleep, you sleep. But only say that I am the best teacher. Imagine if we have one teacher like that in our school, what type of mental health he or she can imbibe or contribute in the lives of these children. So therefore, dear principals, we need to keep in mind these 3 important determinants of what happens to child's mental health. One, what happens within the classroom, what happens within the personality of the teachers. Third one, how schools handle disciplinary issues. Now, having said that, we will move on to some suggestions. I'm not getting into too much of a problem. Okay, problems will always be there. We need to think of solutions. Okay, first one, think of effective psychological first aid system. We all know about normal first aid. Okay, we need to have emotional first aid. I'm sure we all have counselors in schools. I do not know if it's there in the part of, I think CBSE has prescribed. And I have seen in some ICSE schools or in IB schools in Bangalore or in the other parts. Delhi, I have, when I visited 2 schools or Andhra 3 schools, I have talked about it. And I have also seen there are school counselors. Now, these people are people who can give emotional first aid or a psychological first aid. Even every teacher can be trained. Okay. And Krista Jayanti, we have a module exclusively on training teachers on how to identify a slow learner, how to identify a children in crisis, how to identify a child who needs more emotional support. So the first suggestion is provide psychological first aid. Second one is talk about mental health openly. Many a times what happens in schools, there is a problematic child. The class teacher is not able to handle. She takes to the coordinator. Coordinator is not able to handle. She sends her sends the child to the principal. Principal is able to handle or not able to handle. Finally, the child lands up with the counselor. Now, what happens when a child goes to the counselor? There is a stigma attached. Oh, you went to counselor. You had some mental health issues, some problem. I've heard in some schools, children saying, you take me anywhere, even to the principal, and again, don't take me to the counselor. Going to the counselor has become a negative and stigmatized. As we all need a physical health checked, we also need to check our emotional and mental health. So we can talk about it openly in our assemblies, in our school programs. Okay, even when we send a circular, maybe a one small line, one particular paragraph about talking about mental health, and remove the stigma. Physical health we need, we also need emotional health. We all, nobody is perfect, we all need help. The moment somebody thinks that I am really fully matured, I think probably that person does not have a place here, because we are all simple people. We all need a emotional and psychological health and help. And the next one is very important, dear principals, very important, on life skills education. WHO has come out with the 10 skills as life skills. Now, what do these skills teach? These skills help people to live a happier life. Not just to make a living, but to live a happier life and to enjoy without guilt feeling. That's very important. Whenever I talk to school children, I tell them, you enjoy, no problem. Tomorrow, when you go back to your children, when you go back to your parents, will you tell that you did this and enjoyed? You think about it. Anything that you cannot talk to your parents, that this was your enjoyment, then that is not a enjoyment, which means you are enjoying with guilt feeling. Can we make our children have enjoyment without guilt feeling? Can we help our children to make right decisions? Now, these life skills, very quickly, I will talk about it. There are 10 skills, WHO talks about it. Self-awareness, empathy, creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, coping with the emotions, stress management, communication, and interpersonal relationship. These are very, very, very important skills, crucial skills, life skills. So if you can make life skill education as part of your curriculum, I think CBSE, one module is there, but let it not be like any other subject dealt. Like Father, my principal was addressing yesterday, Father Jose Kuti, in Kristu Jayanti, we train all our teachers and students on life skills. Every year, when we open after the reopen academic year, first 2 weeks, nobody talks about anything except life skills. Children are given life skills so that they are able to deal with everyday challenges. So my invitation, please think about whether you can effectively incorporate life skill education in your curriculum. If you need additional support, yes, we are there. Now, train the teachers on positive mental health. As I've been saying, if you train the teachers, forget about students, they will take care of it. Okay? Teachers should have a positive mental health. And can we train our teachers on stress management? Can we train our teachers on work-life balance? Most of our schools, majority of our teachers are ladies who also play a crucial role as a homemakers at home. Okay, so how they can effectively balance so that whatever tension that they have does not get affected with their teaching here. And whatever we have a tension here, that should not affect their family life. Whether we can think of a training program, I invite you to think about it. And friends, let me also remind you, children are not springboard to our emotions. I will repeat, children are not springboard for our emotions. Children are not there to ventilate my emotion. I am angry on somebody, I should not express on the children. I am very happy with somebody. Children are not there to express my emotions. This is very, very crucial. We need to take care of it. Okay. And treat all the students same. Earlier also I talked about comparison, partiality will kill the brand image of the institution and spoil or professionally spoil the life of the teacher also. So can we teach our teachers to be impartial, treat everybody equally, so that the child feels emotionally healthy. And finally, balancing between protection versus preparation. We need to prepare the child, okay? At the same time, we need to protect the child. We need to protect the child. At the same time, we need to prepare the child. How do we balance it? Ships are very safe in the harbor. Ships are very safe in the harbor, but that is not why a ship is made for. Ships have to sail in the sea. But at the same time, we also protect the ship. Can we think of that model of protecting children as well as promoting children? This is a very important role to play. Now, some more suggestions. What is the difference between discipline and punishment? Punishment is the option. Yes, it is the option, but that is the last option. Please remember. Punishment is the option. I'm not saying no, but that should be the last option. And we talk about PD, positive discipline. Positive discipline looks at the future, whereas punishment looks at the past. We punish somebody for the past, whereas when we discipline, we look at the future of the child. As responsible leaders, can we create a framework? Can we create a structure in our own schools how children, how teachers can have a positive disciplining system? Do we have a SOP, standard operating procedure for disciplining? Can we have a very clear-cut system? What happens in some schools? Small mistakes are highlighted, blown out of proportion. When something very big happens, nobody bothers about it. Everybody keeps their mouth shut. Now, what do we call this system? A child gets confused. What is accepted in the school? What is not accepted? I do not know. So therefore, as responsible leaders, we need to create a constructive system, pro-student, student-friendly system of discipline. And another one, respect before you expect. It's a beautiful, no? Respect before you expect. Whenever you want to expect a child to do something, please respect the child's individuality, child's emotional makeup, especially if we are dealing with the class 11 and 12 children. We need to respect is the only key, because our experience shows whenever you respect the child, they also respect us. Whenever we do not respect, they do not respect us back. Okay. And another is connect before you correct. I'm just putting a lot of key words for you to remember, taglines. Connect before you correct. Yes, you correct the child, but before that you connect with the child. How do I connect with the child? Let me become friendly with the child. Okay, tell the child, understand the psychosocial backgrounds. Okay, then you advise. And one small tip which I use is, whenever you scold a child, whenever you correct a child, use the child's name as often as possible. It works out. Okay, whenever you, even when you scold, say the child's name often and scold. The child feels, anyway I am remembered. Anyway I am in the mind of the teacher. Instead of saying, you, what is your name? I don't know. So that attitude already feels, anyway I am uncared for. I am unwanted element. So the child's mental health issues start. Friends, our little experience with the real love, any amount of punishment you give, children do not make an issue. Children accept it. Only when we are not properly motivated, simply for the sake of punishing, institutions and teachers get into issues. So it's a very crucial area. Encourage, not just praise. Encourage children, motivate children. Don't just praise children. Praising, yes, but motivate them. Children want you to encourage them, not just praise them. And finally, identify the belief behind behavior. Every behavior has got a belief behind it. Every good deeds, bad deeds, whether you or me, anything that we do, there is a belief system which promotes that behavior. So whenever you want to punish the child, first to find out why this boy or girl would have done that. Belief. You study the belief, then you understand the behavior. This is one popular theory which even my vice principal, Father Augustine, talks about it. This is called margin theory. Now, what do I mean by margin theory? Students are like this notebook. I am just moving the cursor. Please look at it. Students are like this notebook. There is a margin. Now what happens? Our role as a teachers or leaders is here, small part. And students are expected to be in a bigger space. Now, what do we mean by margin theory? Don't get into their space. Okay? And do not allow them to come to your place. When you respect, maintain this respectable distance, I think lot of disciplinary issues, mental health issues can be sorted out. Whenever I conduct a parenting skills workshop, again I tell parents, follow this theory. Yes, our own children, yes, our own people, but maintain a respectable distance. When we maintain that, children know their limitation, children know their space. Okay, do not get into their space. Everybody needs their own personal space. And do not allow them to come into your space. When we do that, automatically, we will be able to maintain a positive mental health among our own children. Now, few suggestions I have given. Now, what happens when you maintain a positive mental health? Okay, when we have a positive mental health, we have children with enhanced life satisfaction. Dear friends, at the end of the day, what you need is happy about our own life. Whether you are a principal or a teacher, parent, or anybody in the society, at the end of the day, I should be happy to live in this world. Now, many things contribute towards that, but one thing which mainly contributes is the positive mental health, life satisfaction. Improved resilience. What is resilience? Ability to come out of a problem quickly. How quickly I can come out of a problem. We all face setbacks. Okay? We all face setbacks. We all have issues. Okay? Can I use this positive mental health to come back? People with the positive mental health, they are able to come out of that problem. They don't just go through the problem, they grow through the problem. They don't go through the problem, they grow through the problem. Okay, that is why we say people with mental health, their comeback is larger than their setback. Okay, they develop a positive, mental stamina, they develop it. Then improved concentration in studies. Lots and lots of research have proved people with the positive mental health, they have done better in studies. Then another concept today in psychology we talk about is frustration tolerance. Now, frustration tolerance is how long I can hold the frustration. Look at me, friends. I am holding a water bottle. Now, this water bottle, it's not only a half water. It's not full. It's not so difficult to carry. But how long can I hold? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. After 2 hours, my hands will start paining. Now, my hand will pain not because of the weight of this water bottle, but how long I am holding on to this water bottle. This is what exactly happens in child's mental health, dear experts, dear leaders. Issues may be small, how long they are able to hold on to it. Studies have shown people with a positive mental health, they are able to withstand their issues and challenge and come up, whereas other people are not able to hold on. And finally, positive mental health helps overall quality of life. Okay, so I have put a few pictures just for you to, on a lighter note, just to look at it. See, whenever your child is irritating, don't yell, just keep calm and show how to respond. Let the child see whenever there is something going wrong, this is how I need to respond. Okay, this is one. Second one, see the situation of the parent. It's on a lighter note. Don't look for a very serious lesson in this. Children, what all go through? iPhone, iPad. See the parent, I paid. Tension of the parents. Okay, this is about the parents' mental health. Okay, and this is just yesterday, this picture, I saw it in my WhatsApp. Okay, parents are the primary caregivers and role models. look at these two children are asking, Mom, we need a haircut. This person is saying, I'm not mom, I'm dad. Okay. This is about the quarantine and haircut. This picture came. Okay, I thought it is a, something I can connect, we can show it. So therefore, dear friends, parents play a crucial role, but within our system, we can, how far we can make parents also effective, again, I leave it to you. And one sure way of teaching positive mental health is teaching gratitude. Okay, look at this child. What you have taken for granted is a lifetime dream for somebody. What you have taken for granted is a lifetime dream for somebody. If this message is very strongly, consciously given to our children, definitely they develop positive mental health. So with all this input, I think we can create positively mentally healthy children who can remove this myth. What are these myths? More mark means more intelligent. Wrong. Success in exam is success in life. Wrong. Failure in exam is equal to failure in life and end of life. So can we change these messages? Yes, it is possible. And finally, dear friends, it is better to prepare and prevent than to repair and regret. Okay. As far as mental health is concerned, it is better to prepare and prevent than to repair and regret. In the end, it will not matter if I am a perfect teacher. It will only matter if I was there for them when the child needed me. Remember, teachers, 20 years later, what children will remember is not what you advised, but how you advised. I'll repeat, 20 years later, what children will remember is not what you advised, but how we advised. So let us all join together and create a positively developed, a mentally healthy children who are real assets to our institutions, who are real assets to our own society. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Thank you. Over to Priya ma'am.
Dear participants, sir, thank you so much for that very thought-provoking session and with the examples, and I am very sure that all of us could relate well into it, which we can actually put into practice. And now, because we are running short of time, we just have 5 minutes time. We will just take up the questions which has come up in the chat. I will just read out the questions. Whoever has more questions can put it in the chat because we just have 5 minutes to wind up. So the first question which was put up was, can Google remove the value of a teacher, by Kiran Jaraya?
Madam, Google is technology. Technology is only a supplement, not a substitute. Technology is only a supplement, but not a substitute. So Google cannot replace the teacher, but teachers have got a higher level of roles to play. Earlier, teachers, yesterday also, I think Dr. Edward talked about it. Google can give information, but Google cannot motivate. Teachers may not be able to give the updated information, but whereas teachers can motivate when a child is feeling lonely. So therefore, Google cannot be replaced teachers. But technology cannot replace the teachers. But teachers with the technology will replace teachers without technology. So technology is needed for teachers, but on a different level. We need to motivate students, not just give information. Google is only a information giver. Google cannot motivate. Okay, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Shall we ask questions, madam? Shall I ask question? Because I raised my hand and I have one.
Okay, you can.
Okay, yeah. So good morning, Dr. James Richard. The guidance
Jonas
that
Richard.
you have. Okay,
Jonas
fine.
Richard.
Okay, Jonas Richard, and the guidance that you have provided in this webinar, especially during these distressed times of COVID, was found to be very excellent. And let me appreciate first. Let me introduce myself. I am Prakash Nair and I am a principal from Tamil Nadu. My question is very simple. You have given a very valuable point. A teacher should always be creating the bridges and not the walls. So my
Yes.
question is, during the social distancing time, whether the teacher is creating walls or whether the teacher is creating bridges. This is my question.
Okay, there are 2 points. First of all, I do not agree with the term social distancing because it is only a physical distance. Okay, because as a teachers, we cannot socially distant, we can have a physical distance. That clarity on that. Second one is teachers are bridges right now. Teachers are really bridges. And in fact, see, there was one-liner WhatsApp message which came. One child is saying, ma'ams are better than moms during COVID. Ma'ams are better than moms. Now, maybe a joke, but what the child is trying to say is, though I am away from my teacher, I would like to be more close to the teacher, though there is online class. Though I am always at home, excessive disciplinary measures at home. Okay, so teachers are real bridges right now. I know the amount of emotional help many teachers keep calling us, sir, how do I deal with this situation? This child feels this. So, sir, teachers are bridges. Okay, and they are doing a wonderful work during this COVID-19. Our salutations. Thank you, sir.
One more question, sir. How can we help a child to maintain a positive mental health and positive behavior towards his or her peer when he or she is being abused at home or observing that kind of actions at home?
Yes, madam. This is $1 million question because the child is with us for 5 hours, 6 hours. We do all sorts of, it is like giving a bath to the child. At home, again, this fellow is going and again playing with the mud. Again, you give a bath, again, the child is going out to play. It is like that. So what we can do as schools is identify the child's psychosocial background and the family situation, give lots of attention. I strongly believe if the teacher is taking personal attention, whatever that happens at home will be compromised with what happens in the schools. Definitely, we cannot change the situation at home. Definitely not, because there are our own social restrictions. But teachers' love, guidance, comfort can definitely change the child. It is possible. It is possible.
Okay, now Dr. Saul Nicholas have written, I have a question and suggestion. I feel all training on positive mental health is needed more for teachers, starting with principals and parents than students. What is your suggestion on this?
What is it, madam?
I feel all training on positive mental health is needed more for teachers and parents, starting with principals than students. What is your suggestion?
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Saul is a trainer and he conducts a lot of trainings from Pondicherry. I appreciate as a very thought-provoking question, Dr. Saul Nicholas. Any change that does not start with the leader will not change, will not sustain. It's a hardcore reality. Any change as a head of the family, if I am not doing it myself, my children will not follow it. Any change that does not start with the principal or a teacher, it will not go down. One simple example I will give you. Most of our schools have got a rule about mobile phone usage. Supposing as a principal, okay, or as a teacher, I have a rule that there is no mobile phone usage in the classroom. As a teacher, if I am using mobile phone, the students may not react to us immediately. But what message it goes? Once I am a leader, I can do whatever I want. So the change will not sustain, change will not go. So therefore, Dr. Saul, the change has to start with the leader. It has to start with the principals. It has to start with the teachers. Seeing as children will automatically change. Need not worry about it. That's a very good question, sir. Yes, doctor. Yes,
Thank
please.
you, sir. Now, Radha Nair, how much online session can be beneficial for the students? How the student-teacher bonding will get?
Okay, okay, right. How much bonding is online? Madam, how far is too far? It is the individual teacher to decide and the student to decide. Because Lot of online counselings are happening. It is very effective than the offline counseling, because lot of anonymity, people feel more comfortable to speak all that. But nowadays this online classes that is happening, how serious the teacher is, how serious the learner is, I mean, it depends on the case by case. There is no one solution, but too much of anything is good for nothing. But today you tell me honestly, people are saturated about webinars. Okay, the moment you talk about Zoom, that is another fear word that is getting created. So somewhere you need to strike a balance. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, from Rujika Sharma, what is it one quality a leader can suggest to become a happy teacher?
What is the one quality?
One quality a leader can suggest to become a happy teacher.
One thing that I can suggest to you is that there is a more than one thing to become a good teacher. Okay, it is not a one quality. Lot of things. Teachers' mental makeup, teachers' psychosocial well-being. Okay, there are 10 qualities we talk in life skills. If a teacher possesses all these 10 life skills, I am sure the teacher will be a happy teacher. There are two types of teachers. Generally, we talk about all our trainings. The first type of teacher who brings happiness to others with his or her presence. Second type of teacher who bring happiness to others by his or her absence. Very simple. Whether I bring happiness to students by my presence or by my absence decides how effective I am. Very simple. But all that I can say is, if you are personally happy, you will make the classroom happy. If you are personally unhappy, hell for learners.
Okay, so there are two more questions. We'll wind up after this. As long as the children, from Prakash AG, as long as the children are under the custody of teachers more time than with the parents, shall we call teacher as the first parent?
Yes, we can call, but then legal implications are there. We cannot call somebody's child as our own child. But in what do we call it? Tomorrow, Dr. Sendil will talk on about the Finland model. Finland model school education is teachers are the final authority. Once the teacher says, don't come, even headmaster cannot enter the class. That is the power teacher has got. Yes, teacher is may not be the biological parent, but has got a strongest influence on the child. That's a very good suggestion, sir. I value it.
Okay, so we'll go with the last question because the time is not permitting. From Sunil Bhakare, what about the screen time effect on the psychological mental status of a child? Are we not imposing the online monotonous way of teaching on students in spite of their willingness and liking?
Yes, madam. I fully agree with you. I am a person, who is not for too much of screen time, because in a social media addiction, handling social media addiction, when we conduct a training program, 40 minutes before going to bed, the child is not expected to have any social time, any screen time. As soon as you get up in the morning, if you are looking at your social media, it is a clear sign you are addicted to social media. As soon as you look at WhatsApp when you get up, you are addicted to social media, your social anxiety increases. That affects your all aspects of your life. So my suggestion is, somewhere we have to stop and strike a balance. Screen time is not good. Imagine once the lockdown is over, when children report back to the school, imagine how many children are going to have eye issues. How many children are going to come with their, these spectacles? So screen time, yes, definitely it affects. I fully agree with you, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that enlightening session on promoting positive student mental health. And you had explained in detail about the role of teachers in emotional, social, and psychological development. And you also stressed upon the points of the importance of emotional and mental health and the importance of life skills education. We are extremely happy to have you with us, Dr. Jonas Richardson. Yes, sir.
One person has been kept on messaging that one question. We'll just give them one chance.
Yes.
Sister Selena. We'll just give her a chance.
Okay.
That will wind up.
Sister Selena, what is the question?
If you have a question, please type, sister. Otherwise, we'll move on because she kept on messaging also.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay, I think we seem to have lost. No problem.
Okay, so Dr. Jonas Richard sir is a very popular faculty, not only among the students, but along with the faculty also in our teacher community also, because he's the one who coordinates and trains the entire Kristu Jayanti community, whether it be the students or the faculty in life skills. And his sessions are very, very interesting and enriching, and we get so much involved in the sessions, and we have learned from him about life skills, and we teach our students and we give training to our students every year. So thank you so much for your presence and your valuable time here, sir. On behalf of the Kristu Jayanti College and IQAC, I extend our sincere thanks and gratitude to you, sir. And sincere thanks to all the participants who have spared their valuable time with us today. Now we will go for a break. All of you can go have lunch and take a short nap if required, because we will come back at 3 p.m. for the next session. Dr. Gopakumar will be taking on content development skills with social media. So we will wind up for now. Thank you for being there.
Thank you. Amir sir. Dr. Amir. Amir sir. Amir sir. Ma'am.
Yeah, Amir sir is...
yeah. Please tell Amir sir to. Mr. Mohan. Amir sir.
Amir sir.
Okay, maybe participants.
Yeah, participants can leave the meeting. You can press the leave meeting icon on the right side below and leave the meeting.